Before we start off today's video, if you guys would like to join my Discord server, link will be in the description and there will also be in the pinned comment. Now the server is pretty much good as it is. Obviously there'll be changes here and there, but the one thing it is missing is members. We only have 8 at the moment, so if you would like to join and help the server grow, link is in that description and it is also in that pinned comment. But anyway, let's get right into the proper review. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Now you may remember yesterday was Wednesday, July the 19th, which meant it was my 20th birthday. Now 20 is obviously a big thing because it's a new decade, and well, decades are big, aren't they, especially for the human population, so I thought we would review my dream car, which was the Subaru Impreza WR1. But that was on a Wednesday and today is Thursday, and we always review a car on a Thursday. So here it is, and I thought we could do sort of like a Subaru week thing, because the older Subarus are my favourite cars ever. But anyway, this here is the Subaru Impreza WRX STi Cosworth CS400. That is the longest name I've ever heard. Not really, but you get the point. But anyway, this car is basically a standard Impreza WRX STi hatch, and it has been tuned by Cosworth, the British tuning company. Now this is how the car turned out, and this is how it was before, just a slobbish hatchback. This is my least favourite version of the WRX STi, but either way, we all know Cosworth. You know, we had the Sierra Cosworth, and of course we had the Escort Cosworth. Those two cars were, well, brilliant. They were on Fords, and now we got one on a Subaru, and who's bought it back now? Let's take it. But anyway, let's get on with it. So when it comes to the exterior, the car does look pretty identical to the standard version. Obviously there are some differences. For example, you've got a Cosworth badge at the bottom, and you've also got that mesh grille which the standard car doesn't have, which I'm going to show you right now. It does look pretty much the same, but there's no mesh or Cosworth anywhere, and that STi badge is missing. So that's something to note. The side profile, well, it's pretty much exactly the same, to be honest. The only difference really is that the exhaust seems to stick out a bit more, and you got different rims, which I'll get to in the anything else section. When it does come to the rear, again it's identical, but you got Cosworth on the side there, and you got the 4 big exhausts, which do look bigger than the standard ones. So that obviously does make it look cooler and a bit more aggressive. Otherwise that is really it. It's not much of a change, it's just a few aesthetic changes, and that's all you get, really. When it comes to the interior, this is pretty much identical. The only difference I see here is the Cosworth badge on the left hand side on some black shiny plastic, and that's it. Now the interior is laid out reasonably well. You know, there's some things in your eye line and they're not too low down, but of course it's still Subaru, so it's cheap Japanese plastic grey black colours. Nothing else to say on that. It's just, yeah, I've got nothing to say. The seats do look different, I'll say that, and that's really all you're gonna get from me, to be honest. When it does come to the performance, this is amazing, but it's also not. I'll show you why. So it has a 2.5 litre boxer 4-cylinder. It has a turbo, of course, 395 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. This is the most powerful Impreza to come to the UK that isn't tuned by like random people. That's tuned by a proper company and a production car. Drivetrain is of course all-wheel drive, that isn't going to change. Weight is a bit more than over 1.5 tons at 1,505 kilograms. And of course you got a 6-speed manual, just like the standard STi has a 6-speed manual. But this does have a secret to it that I will share in some other section. I don't even know what section it's in. But anyway, 0 to 60, 3.7 seconds. That is quick. That is Lamborghini territory there. Even Ferrari territory, to be honest with you. And the top speed is 155 miles an hour, and of course that top speed is limited. I don't actually know what it would be unlimited. I haven't seen any specs on the internet. I know that the FQ400, the Evo 8, does 175. I don't know what the Evo 10 FQ400 does, that might do the same. So I wonder if this is roughly the same, 170, 175, who knows. However, here comes the bit that isn't great. This car has humongous turbo lag. Like when you're under 3,500 RPM, it just slowly builds, and then suddenly, as soon as you hit 3,500 RPM, you shoot off like a rocket like that. Like something insane. But the fact that a lot of RPM, there's a lot of turbo lag on it, and it's a lot, and I mean a lot of turbo lag and a lot of RPM to deal with. So that's not great. But when it does come to the practicality, the boot is 301 litres big, which, to be honest with you, is a bit small for a large hatchback. Something like a Ford Focus has 385 litres. So this frankly is small. However, it is a hatchback, so the hatchback design does make it easier to get to the rear seats. And speaking of the rear seats, well, it's not a small car, so legroom is decent enough, and so is the headroom. I see no problem here. Except for if you're like 8'2", then, well, you know, that's your problem, not mine. So, when it does come to the handling, it's a bit of a complicated story. Well, you get all-wheel drive, which means you get grip, and you also get grip in the rain, so that's 2 points there. You also get that DCCD, the driver controlled central differential. I couldn't find any specs on it, so we'll just have to take it as it is. It can send some power to the back and some to the front, so you know, we'll just take it at that. Something I have read is that the steering is quite light, which isn't great, which means that when you turn in the car in a corner, it doesn't feel like it's responding for part of it, and then suddenly it just dives in. So that's not great. I don't know what happened there. Is that Cosworth steering? I don't know. It shouldn't have happened. That doesn't make it good. But to be honest, it's not a bad handling car. Obviously brakes have been changed, suspension has been changed, which I'll get to. But on the plus side, the ride quality was quite decent enough. It was a bit stiff, but it was decent enough for the passengers. Now, is there anything else worth noting? Now here I'm about to say a whole ton of things, so brace yourselves. So the things they've either changed or upgraded are the turbo, the head gasket, the oil pump, the con rods, the bearings, the pistons, the ECU, and the exhaust. The ECU is kind of the brains of the car, the engine control unit. Now, when it does come to everything else, it has 18-inch rims, which are lightweight. It has AP brake discs at the front. It has, I don't know how to say this, IBAC springs and Bilstein dampers. If I say that wrong, I'm sorry. 24mm wider track, which is the distance between the wheels, not lengthways like the front and back, but from left to right. The front is lower by 15mm. It does have that different grille, like I said. And about the gears, it has carbon synchro mesh on the first three, and that helps to deal with the power. And it does have a slightly upgraded clutch, and I forgot to put that in there. Something else is only 75 were made. That makes it very, very rare. I do think they could have made at least 25 more. I think that this is not a car where it should be this rare, like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or some supercar. You know, as much as I love Subaru, it is still a Subaru at the end of the day, despite Cosworth being a part of it. And it was only for the UK market, just like the WR1 was in the previous video. So it sucks for you if you're in a different country. And it costed 50 grand! That was at the time as well, that's not even now. That's a bit much. They could have taken 5 grand off, it would be much better value. And speaking of that 50 grand, the cheap interior with its cheap plastics, that's not worth 50 grand at all. But what is the verdict? So the pros are, it's really fast, the headroom and legroom are quite decent, it does bring the Cosworth name back to life, it does have that all-wheel drive grip, all-wheel drive also means fun in the rain, that DCCD, the driver controlled central differential, is a good feature to have, the interior layout is decent, but that's about it. The ride quality is also decent enough. Oh my god, there's so many decency I never realised. And the handling is also decent as well. but the cons are: the boot is small for a large hatchback, especially comparing it to a Ford Focus, and I'm comparing it to a 5-door Ford Focus. It is quite expensive as well. The interior is just classic cheap Subaru black, grey, cheap plastic. The steering is rather light. I really don't know what happened. I've said that enough now. There is a huge amount of turbo lag, and it is very, very rare. It does not need to be very rare, this car. Not as rare as a Ferrari or a Lamborghini should. But anyway, that concludes my review of the Subaru Impreza WRX STi Cosworth CS400. 400 obviously standing for horsepower. But anyway, if you would like to check out my reaction channel,
different types of Dyson spheres. Type 1 is to build a ring of orbits.
those are bloody lampshades, not bloody Dyson spheres.
Wirelessly transfer the energy back to the home planet. A Type 2 is to build a bubble of satellites around the
That's
star.
a golf ball. That's a golf ball now.
Of the light, but not all of it. And a Type 3 is to completely swallow the star with a solid shell of matter.
That's a disco ball.
100.
Then I will leave a link to that in the description below. I have also posted some birthday videos on there, a reaction video and a short video as well. Now this is next week's car. If you know what it is, let me know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, if you want me to review a car, then you can also let me know in the comments below. And you can even let me know within my Discord server. But anyway, that is it, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.